The most efficient way to get ahead financially is to pay yourself first. But if you don't have a plan for where your money is going to go, it's really hard to do that. Without these 5 accounts, chances are, as soon as you get paid, that money will be used to pay, well, everyone except you. You'll pay your mortgage lender or your landlord. You'll pay the grocery store and your favorite online shopping platform. And 6 months will go by before you realize, I haven't paid myself anything. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 5 accounts that'll set you up for financial success and the order of operations for you to open them. The very first account that you should open is a high yield savings account. And the purpose of this is to hold your emergency fund. This money is the safety net that is going to save your life when you just so happen to encounter an unexpected expense, like your dog eats a dish towel, or your car breaks down on the highway, or your job, who told you that your position wasn't going anywhere, decides to lay you off. Without an emergency fund, your cash is constantly in check, and you're one move away from being yeeted off the board, or to put it more plainly, a boatload of credit card debt. And with credit card interest rates running around 20% these days, it's a lot easier to prevent yourself from getting into that cycle than it is to dig yourself out of it. But aside from all the doom and gloom reasons to have an emergency fund, there's actually a lot of upside to it. During peak COVID, one of my friends found a job that paid nearly 30% more than her current position. She was comfortable in her current role and was definitely a little scared to make that kind of move in such an uncertain time. But because she had an emergency fund, it gave her the confidence to accept the new job. In the last 5 years, she has nearly doubled her pre-COVID income, all because an emergency fund gave her the peace of mind that she needed to make that one move that changed everything. Fortunately, most of the time you aren't going to need to access the money in your emergency fund, but on the times that you do, you will be so glad that you set that money aside. And that is exactly why it has to be kept totally separate from your checking and savings that you use for everyday income and expenses. Trust me, you don't want to be able to use that money all willy-nilly, and you definitely don't want it getting mixed up with your everyday spending either. Your emergency fund is special money that's totally off limits unless you absolutely need it, which is why keeping it in an online high-yield savings account is the perfect place. Unlike the big name brick and mortar banks like Wells Fargo and Bank of America, online high-yield savings accounts are not spending money on physical locations, and so they can take the money that they save on rent and utilities and pass it on to you in the form of higher interest rates. Personally, I keep my emergency fund in the American Express high yield savings account, which is currently paying 4.25% interest, but I'll also include a link in the description to another video I made about the best high yield savings accounts. Okay, the next account that you should open is an employer sponsored retirement account. Depending on where you work, this might be a 401k or a 403b, or if you happen to be self-employed, this might be a SEP IRA or a solo 401k. So what is so special about retirement accounts that they should be the very next account that you open after a high yield savings for your emergency fund? 2 words: tax advantages. The amount of money that you put into your workplace retirement accounts directly reduces your taxable income. Meaning, if your salary is $70,000 and you put $15,000 into your 401k, the IRS is only going to tax you on $55,000. The same exact principle applies for those who are self-employed and have a SEP IRA or a solo 401k. If your business made $100,000 for the year and you put $20,000 into your retirement account, you are only being taxed on that $80,000 net income. For me, I currently have a W-2 and I also own a business, so I have both a 401k and a SEP IRA. But sometime soon, I do plan to swap my SEP IRA into a solo 401k, which I really prefer because you can still make Roth contributions. So unless we want to work literally forever, we all have to prepare financially for when we're older, and that means setting aside money into retirement accounts. There are people who are working into their 70s and 80s, and it's really terrible and horrible and sad. So make sure you open this account, contribute to a workplace retirement account so that you don't have to work until you die. Now, I do want to acknowledge that not every job actually has a workplace retirement account, or you may not meet the hourly requirements to have access to one. So if that's the case, just skip on over to the next one. The next account that you should open is an individual retirement account. And this you can do completely on your own, so you don't have to worry about what your employer does or does not offer. There are two types of individual retirement accounts, aka IRAs, Roth and traditional. Just like the employer-sponsored retirement accounts, these ones also give you tax benefits. They just do so in a different way. The traditional IRA is a lot like the 401k at your job in that it reduces your taxable income. The problem is the traditional IRA does have an income limit to get the full deduction. So after you earn a certain amount, you don't get the tax break anymore. That is not the case with a workplace 401k, so it kind of makes the traditional IRA suck by comparison. Luckily, the even better individual option is the Roth IRA, which allows you to invest your money in the stock market and never pay taxes on your gains. Even if you turn $10 into $10 million, all $10 million would be yours to keep. Normally, you would owe capital gains tax on that $10 million gain, but in a Roth IRA, you get that money tax-free. And here's the thing, rich people are already doing this, whether we know about it or not. Take a look at Peter Thiel, for example. He turned a $2,000 initial investment into PayPal and Facebook in its early days into literally billions of dollars. And he won't have to pay a penny of taxes on his gains, all because he did that in a Roth IRA. Billionaires can have and will continue to take advantage of this crazy loophole, so you definitely should have the opportunity to as well. The Roth IRA is so powerful that the government caps how much money you can put in there, and the limit this year is $7,000. So even if you wanted to put more than that in there, you can't, because it's just that good. So after you've taken care of your emergency fund and your employer-sponsored retirement accounts, do your best to max out your Roth IRA every year if you can. Personally, I keep mine with Charles Schwab if you're curious. The next account is probably the most underrated account on this list, and that is the Health Savings Account, or HSA. Even though most people think of their HSA as just an adjunct to their health insurance, it's actually a full-blown investment account. And it's the only one that has a triple tax advantage. With your health savings account, you can actually invest your money in the stock market, and you will not pay taxes in 3 different ways. You won't pay taxes on the money you put into the account. You won't pay taxes on the gains that you make in the account. And as long as you spend the money on healthcare expenses, you won't pay taxes when you take the money out. This is like the biggest life hack, money hack, healthcare hack of all time, because there is literally no other account that does this. A lot of people overlook the benefits of an HSA because the advantages are just less obvious. It's pretty easy to think about protecting yourself in case of a financial emergency or saving for retirement so that we eventually get to stop working. But we don't often think about how expensive it is to pay for healthcare as we age. As someone who works in healthcare and sees firsthand the cost of aging, I personally love having an HSA because it forces me to build a tax-free financial cushion that I can use to pay for healthcare expenses later down the line. The one caveat with an HSA is that you need to have a high deductible health plan to have one. HDHPs are those insurance plans where first you need to pay a several $1,000 deductible before your plan really kicks in and starts making large payments towards your healthcare expenses. That being said, high deductible health plans are great for young, healthy people who are in their prime working years and making lots of money at their jobs without hopefully having any chronic illnesses that require frequent visits to the doctor. Preventive care services like your annual OBGYN scan visit or a physical with your primary care doc are still going to be fully covered without having to pay towards your deductible. So it's really great for young and healthy people who just want to set aside money as a nest egg for healthcare expenses later on. The final account is the taxable brokerage account. And even though this is what most people think of when they hear the word investing, it's actually the one that you should open last. You don't even have to worry about this account until you've opened your emergency fund and set that up. You've got your workplace retirement accounts going and your HSA if you have one. The reason the taxable brokerage account comes in last place is because it's taxable. Unlike every other account that we talked about, this one does not come with tax benefits. The only thing a taxable brokerage account does for you is it gives you a place to put any extra money after you've paid yourself first in your emergency fund, your retirement accounts, and your health savings. It's also worth mentioning that if you're saving for a big purchase within the next year or two, like a down payment on a house, for example, it's probably not worth putting that money into an investment account. For all you know, and for all I know, the stock market might look like garbage next year. And if your money is tied up in a taxable brokerage account, you're going to have to sell your investments and pay taxes on your gains just to get the cash out, even if the market is doing poorly. We all know stocks go up in the long run over 10, 20, 30 years. But in the short term, if you're saving for a big purchase, you'd be better off putting those savings into another high-yield savings account separate from your emergency fund so that you can set a specific savings goal. So the idea with all of these accounts is that you contribute something to all of them every single month, and that way you always pay yourself first. But it's even better if you pay yourself on autopilot. You can set up automations in each of these accounts so that every time you get paid, money is going straight into these 5 accounts without you even having to think about it. And this way, instead of 6 months passing by and feeling like you're not any closer to your financial goals, you'll be able to log in and see just how far you've come by making yourself your most important bill. As always, thank you so much for being here. Make sure to let me know in the comments which one of these accounts you already have, which one you're looking to set up next, and don't forget to like this video if you liked it. You can subscribe to see more content just like this one, and I'll see you in the next one.